Welcome to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other high-quality podcasts. And now, your host, Alex from Swamp Rat Fishing, and the co-hostess with the mostest, the Jabberhammer, Paul Roberts.
Oh, that was a little different one this time, Paul. I like that one. That was a little spiritual.
You got to mix it up a little bit and throw some of that gospel in the end. I mean, you
I
know
like
how good I can sing.
Like, nope. Nobody knows how good you can sing because you can't. But you know, it is great. It's great that we're here. It's this is releasing on a Friday. It's Bass and Brews Friday. You know what it is. And we're here. We got a great guest. We got Growing. What?
It's Wednesday.
No, I mean it releases on Friday, dipshit. You know the deal.
You said it's Wednesday. I'm just messing with you. I'm giving you a hard time. I gotta make up. I gotta make up for that shitty joke I tried to make on the last entertainingly educational podcast that bombed completely.
What was the joke? Let's hear it.
Well, yeah, you know, we were talking about I had a major Apache pilot, helicopter pilot, and we were talking about, you know, all the branches have aerial acrobatic machines in them, and I was like, except the Coast Guard, because I was going to throw out Alex little jab.
Yeah,
and Alex, it's like Mike Tyson's Punch Out, where Mike Tyson sidestepped my jab and then uppercutted me and ended the game.
Yeah. Wait. I'm trying to. You're trying to say that the Coast Guard doesn't have like an aerial aspect?
Yeah, you know, I wanted to talk shit about you so bad on my podcast that I forgot that they have some of the most badass fucking pilots in the pilot world.
I was about to say, I mean, we do have guys that'll fly helicopters in near hurricane force winds and then dangle a person from said helicopter onto a boat, usually a fishing boat, that's full of rigging, and they're just kind of like, you know, splicing the needle down to drop them, and then that guy will then bring everybody off the boat. But you're right. Yeah, nope, you're right. The Coast Guard is
I
organization.
I owned up to my mistake 100%. I owned up to it. I did. I don't know, you know, I just wanted to jab you so bad, and you juked me and then uppercutted me.
And I wasn't even there.
Knocked my fat ass down. I probably hit the rope so hard I broke the ropes and then fell into the commentator table. Broke that in half. It looked like the end of a WWE episode.
Well, speaking of the Coast Guard, very exciting is today, February 1st, this time of recording, which is a Wednesday, but you'll hear it on a Friday just to make sure that Paul doesn't fuck it up again. But this is my first Bass and Brews as a full civilian. So,
yeah.
Kind of,
Congrats, sir.
Thank you. Kind of cool, kind of weird, but yeah, you know, it's finally done. I got my last full active duty paycheck. So as we talked about last episode, or maybe the episode before that, stand by for the feet picks because my kids still got to eat. So we're gonna do hairy toe picks, hobbit feet, as my wife likes to say, coming your way.
Hey, there's a market for everything.
Well, hobbit feet is a good nomenclature to show your height. So at least they know that short people feet picks.
So the guy who was late to the interview is going to go right to the short jokes. Solid.
I was late before. This is now. That's in the past. And you will never be taller.
Short.
Yeah, but you're just getting shorter as we go too.
All right.
I still love you. I can't wait to meet you in person. I'm a hug a fart out of you.
All right. Well, that's a weird visual. But before we get to Joey, I know there's something you wanted to cover, Paul.
Yeah, so if you're in the kayak world, you've probably seen this by now, but I'm going to talk to y'all and the folks that might not be in the kayak world who bank fish, boat fish out of helicopters, however the hell you fish. Our good buddy Jeff Malott from Kayak Bass Nation, his granddaughter was diagnosed with some type of something cancer. I can't remember. I made a post on my Facebook page, Paul Roberts. You can go check it out. You can check it out on KBN. But they're doing a benefit tournament for the month of February, and anyone's eligible. Any water's eligible. 100% of the proceeds go towards helping the family. They're two young parents. Jeff's son just got out of the military, and they've got a lot going on. Obviously, a lot of appointments, a lot of doctor bills. It's just a lot of financial burden coming up. So they're doing this benefit tournament. I think it's a $30 entry fee, and then you have an option to donate another 10 or 20. They also have a GoFundMe page. You can find it on Tourney X under Rowan. Just type in ROWAN, and it'll come up. You can select. I haven't been fishing. I don't even know if I'm going to fish this month, but just enter. They have a GoFundMe. I'm not sure what that is, but what we'll do, Alex, is put links down in the show description. But if y'all have the opportunity, if you think you're going to go fishing one time, go put in. It's for a good cause, and it's helping a friend of the show. He's been on a few times, guest co-host. It'd be great. We know how the fishing community steps up for stuff like that.
I'll make sure to put a link in.
Bass and Brews.
Yeah, I that's awesome, Paul. And it's for a great cause. And I hate to derail that, but what's the name they should be searching for, Paul?
It's in Tourney X. You can go to Tourney X on the web or the app.
Yeah. How do you pronounce that name?
Rowan.
Nope, Rowan.
You know what, Alex? Fuck you, Alex Castanuega. The first time I heard somebody pronounce your name, I was like, "Oh shit!" I've been calling him the wrong name.
You have been.
But it is Rowan. If you're from the South, it's Rowan.
It's Rowan.
Okay.
But all right, we got Joey Fitzer. Joey, how are you, buddy?
Let's roll.
Good. How are you?
We're good, man. So if you guys don't know him, we found Joey through TikTok. You got a huge following there. Not that huge following matters. What really matters is, at least in me and Paul's eyes, you got some fucking awesome content going on over there, and we really dig it.
AKA Alex is a fanboy.
I am. I here's the thing: if you guys aren't, I mean, you probably are, but if you aren't, go check him out. But it's very realistic. It's Joey like ticks all the boxes that I look for in a fishing content creator, and that's it. It's realistic. He's not serving you bullshit, and also not trying to sell you on any product. Like, he's showing you what it is from your perspective, and I really appreciate that. And I feel as like TikTok, I have noticed the last couple months, there's a lot more fishing TikTok creators or outdoors creators, and I am starting to see like it becoming a little saturated, but in a way that it's like fake and not fucking real. It's like Instagram coming over with all their bullshit. So I really appreciate what you're doing over there.
Appreciate it. More's coming too. As the weather gets better, I'm gonna be putting out a lot more content and more diverse. So
I like
it. To that.
So is your weather bad where you are right now?
It's not pretty. We're supposed to get some good, I think like 2 to 3 inches of ice tonight. So
shit, where you at?
Southeastern Oklahoma. Texas is getting hit way worse, but we're right on the edge. That storm's moving, that direction, but hopefully it kind of misses us.
Ice ain't no joke. Snow's one thing, but ice just fucks it all up. There ain't nothing you can do with ice.
Yeah, and that's mostly all we get. We don't hardly get any snow. It's always ice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, how did just kind of introduce yourself? Well, how you started all of that for our listeners who might know who you are. What are you waving about, Paul? Paul does this.
Question.
Hold on, Joey. Joey, I try to run a very professional, but lighthearted show, and I've got this chaos or this agent of chaos that is Jabberhammer. He just fucks it up every time.
The old Jabberhammer.
That's the worst question to ask. Is Joey, what is your journey to what has got you here right now today, sitting in front of Short Alex and me?
All right, so let's go back to when I was a kid. I started fishing when I was real little. I'm gonna say 5 or 6 is when I first, was introduced to fishing by my grandpa and my dad, and then as the years went on, met buddies in school, and then we just started I mean, any chance we got, we fished. And so went all the way through high school, got a job, life happened, started working, didn't fish that much. And then recently, last couple of years, I mean, every weekend I'm fishing, every week. So that as of recently, I think last year I didn't miss 1 week. I fished at least one day a week the whole last year.
That's fucking commitment, man. And you're fishing out of a big boat, right? Not a kayak, correct?
Right. But when I first started, of course, it was a bank. And then I had a little 2-man scant, a little 10-foot 2-man scant with the little 45, or may have been a 30-pound thrust trolling motor. And then hauled that thing around. And then I kayak fished for a while, for a couple years. And then an opportunity came up. One of my dad's neighbors, he had a boat for sale, and finally got into a boat. But yeah, I've done it all.
So you're like, the hell with being po-ass kayak angler. I'm gonna get me a boat.
Yeah. I think it's we was just talking about before, the wind. Golly, like the wind in Oklahoma, it's it always blows, but it's bad enough in a big boat because it can get nasty. I mainly fish Lake Eufaula here in Oklahoma, and it's a giant lake, and the waves can get nasty.
Yeah, I spent 2.5 weeks fighting wildfire in Oklahoma up in Osage, and
yeah.
whew, I mean, that shit. It's windy all the time. It's like Texas, right? It's just always windy, but then it gets like extra windy just out of nowhere.
It never stops either.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You talking about a damn workout? Woo.
Oh yeah, you're always fighting it.
So what would you say your fishing style is? Are you a finesse guy? Are you a power fisherman? Kind of, where do you fall on that spectrum?
All right, so growing up, like southeastern Oklahoma, we don't have a lot of clear water, so pretty much been forced to power fish. Since it was mostly ponds growing up, but then I just kind of converted that into the lakes around here because the water. They say Lake Eufaula is like the toughest fishery in Oklahoma because the conditions change every week. Like this past year, we had a tournament. Water was up 8 feet on this giant lake, and I'd never seen it this high. But and then say a month later, it's 2 foot below normal. Like they'll just suck the bottom out of it. It's always changing. But I'm a power fisherman. Seems like here you can get away with throwing the biggest, loudest, just most violent lures, and it works for these dirty water bass.
What's like your go-to? You're saying loud, like what's your go-to? Like off the top of your head, like spring's coming up here, right? I know winter kind of throws everybody off. Spring's coming up, throwing the bladed jig. Yeah.
A big bladed chatterbait was a game changer. Whenever that water was 8 feet, I fished a tournament and ended up catching, I think, 1487 on 5 and got second place. But those conditions were nuts. I ran into a back of a creek because I was thinking, so the south end of the lake, well, I guess it'd be the north end, but the north end of the lake is usually clear. It's got the deeper water. South end, it's always dirty, no matter what.
Huh.
Always dirty.
That's ass backwards.
I mean, so it's like a lowland reservoir on the south end, and then on the north end, it's like a highland.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's 2 different fisheries basically, but it's so big. Like I think it's probably from the dam where I fished, it was probably 50-mile run. But this one you could trailer, so it was no big deal.
That bladed jig you just held up, was that a single tail grub with the
I was about
tail
to say.
up on
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
old school.
Oh no, that's a in Jersey, that's the way to run it, is that tail up on the bladed jig.
I just wanted something. I don't know. I mess around with my trailers all the time, and for different scenarios, I throw, like if in the clear water, I'll throw something a little more tapered. But I just wanted something big or something that would put off a little bit more. But you really don't need it because this freaking blade puts off the thump.
It's a big blade. What brand is that? Is that the big blade jackhammer?
Yeah, big bladed chatterbait. Yeah. But I noticed something. I bought these. The paints wore off the head of it, but I couldn't get the. They come in a 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, and I'm sure they go heavier. But the 3/4 ounce was like the sweet spot. So the blade's bigger, but I couldn't get the 1/2 ounce. I guess how fast I was reeling it, it would stay on top of the water. So this 3/4 ounce I could get, down a little bit and still keep the same speed of retrieve, and they liked it.
What rod and reel are you throwing that on?
So I believe I got a 7'3" Falcon medium heavy. I can't remember the version of it, but 7'3" medium heavy. I think it's a fast action, but I kind of like a little stiffer rod for my chatterbaits for some reason. People like a more moderate that loads up, but I have good luck with this rod and throwing that bait, so I ain't switched it up.
You throwing on a fast reel?
Yeah, I throw it. It's either a 7-to-1 or an 8-to-1. I got two setups, but yeah, I like to burn them.
And what are you running online for that? Is that straight braid or are you doing braid to leader?
I'm going straight fluoro, 20-pound fluoro. But I did listen to something that Bradley Holman, he's another fellow Oklahoma angler, and he just made the elites. But he was saying, I can't remember who he's talking about, but everybody was fishing this area with a chatterbait, and they weren't catching nothing. This one guy just started wrecking them. And he was like, after the tournament, he's like, man, what'd you catch him on? He's like, I was throwing a chatterbait. He's like, what? He's like, yeah. He was like, what was your setup? He's like, I was throwing it on braid. And he said, if you look, when you're throwing it with braid, that chatterbait will knock so much harder than with fluoro or mono because there's no stretch. It just hits super hard. So
it's got a real tight but erratic wobble to it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to give that a try.
Paul, you've never done like we use that single tail grub on chatterbaits and then a lot on like swim jigs here. I use it a shit ton. I don't normally talk about it, but you've never done the single tail grub on that, Paul?
Not on the bladed jig. I'll throw it on a swim bait head in the wintertime. Well, not this winter because I ain't go, but I'll have it tied on. I'll have a swim bait, the grub on a swim bait head, and then a blade bait in the wintertime. And I'll kind of go back and forth with them and use it on that. But outside of that, no, I really had never thrown it on anything
I think that's
else.
one of those like trailers that have like kind of gone out of style almost with everything else that's out there. But it's one of those that are like, I'll throw it on a 1/4, like a 1/4 swim jig, something I want to run like over the top of grass or like just below the surface, basically. And you flip that thing over and you run it through, and it's an amazing trailer that I'm almost upset that you brought it up.
That'll take it back to the old school for spinnerbait fishing, where you use the double tail grub, and it was either white or like bright chartreuse green. Yeah, I'm colorblind as hell, so somewhere around that charcuterie green.
Charcuterie.
Yeah,
hopefully
Rowan
Rowan has a charcuterie board for you.
Yeah, but that the grub that's the old school bait, man. That thing that was it. I mean, the people talk about throwing a worm on a jig head now, the shaky head. Back in the day, that was the shaky head. It was a ball head with a grub on it.
Yeah, I think it. I had a TikTok and I asked everybody like, what are some forgotten lures that we've got away from and stuff. I mean, you think about it, we've gotten away from a lot of good baits and lures.
What was the biggest surprises from that TikTok that you heard that people got away from?
Man, I seen the Smithwick Rogue a lot, the jerk bait, and then I think there was it was either a Hellfire topwater or it it wasn't a Hellraiser because Z-Man just came out
Right.
with that Hellraiser, but I think it was a Hellfire. But there was a couple old topwaters that, like the Torpedo, you know. I mean, it's kind of like a smaller, finessey version of a Whopper Plopper, but yeah, just mostly topwaters, and the jerkbait was, and a lot of them I'd never even heard of them. So
Yeah, the Smithwick Rogue, I've still got a few of those old school ones from where I fished in the early 2000s, but I fucking sucking at throwing a damn jerkbait. So I got them.
yeah,
I ain't got a lot of fish on them.
I feel
but
like
yeah.
jerkbait fishing is great. And I think I've talked about this before, but if you're in a kayak, I fucking hate jerkbait fishing. It is the most awkward thing, unless you're like standing up the whole time, right? But like I'm sitting down a lot in my kayak because I'm using my pedals to like put me where I need to be. And it's just a fucking awkward motion. And I hate it. I hate jerkbait
Well,
fishing.
the forward facing sonar has brought jerkbait fishing back into the limelight.
Yeah.
With a boom. It has
Yeah.
really brought back. I mean, people always used it, but now folks are targeting suspended fish, weighting it. You can see. I mean, it's the guessing is out of the game for that shit. I mean, they can take the lead strips and weight it down and do what they. I mean, it is completely changed. The jerk bait is that and the smaller swim baits for forward facing sonar. I mean, that's the ticket and drop shot. I mean,
or if you're what's his name from Six Sense Fishing? I see you got a Waterland hat. I got a Six Sense Fishing shirt on, but what's his name?
I
That
got
just
a buggy
throws.
shirt on.
You do.
It-
Yep.
Ben Milliken or
Milliken.
Josh Jones.
No, Jones. Jones throws the Divine
Freaking
swim jig
jig
with no
What the
trailer.
Dude.
And he jigs them up basically using forward facing. It's insane.
Hey,
I-
trailers on your skirted lures is fucking overrated. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, I'm gonna highly disagree with you.
People caught fish to no ends without having all that bullshit on there. I'm just gonna say, unpopular opinion. Trailers, they ain't that special.
I think that a proper trailer, and Joey, you add in here if you want, but I think I love swim jig fishing. Everybody knows that. You have to have the proper trailer for what you're going for. Otherwise,
100%.
right? You just got to jig. You're just reeling in lead in a skirt.
Yeah, but the way he's fishing it isn't like your traditional way
Right.
you would, swim a jig. Because
Right.
mostly you're around cover of some sort and you're trying to keep that bait up. But
Mhm.
did you hear the story of how he figured this out?
No, go for it.
Okay, so he was on Okema Lake and he was I think he was out there crappie fishing. He came over a giant school of bass. And he was needing to shoot a video for 6 cents, but they wouldn't bite anything that he had. He was like, "What the heck?" So he had a crappie jig, threw the crappie jig out there, and he started catching them. He's like, "All right, how's this going to help? I need to catch them on, a 6 cents bait." So he took that swim jig and he trimmed the guard off and he trimmed the skirt up to make it as small as profile as he could. Threw it out there and just started catching them. So and he said it's my best, most consistent big bass bait that he's found.
That lends me into something around this time of year, locally to where I am. The people catching huge bass, 5+ pound fish on crappie jigs.
Yeah.
Small profile.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, y'all huge crappie where y'all are too. So probably similar, but the crappie anglers that I know, they'll send me a picture or something. Matter of fact, a listener, good friend, guy I met at the Southeastern Fish Expo here a few weeks ago, Rayvon. He just caught, I can't remember how big it was, but it's a big ass fish on a crappie jig. I mean, it happens all the time around here, and most of them are live scoping, forward facing sonar, and they just happen to see some big old dot out there in 30 foot of water suspended in
Drop it on his
15.
head.
They drop it on them, and boom, there it is. Tag team back again.
And I think there's something like something that small. I think it's so non-threatening to him they don't get spooked because sometimes like I've got forward facing sonar and I've caught 2 fish on an
You
Alabama.
cheater.
Yeah, I'm a cheater. I'm terrible. But
I want to have enough money to cheat.
I want to cheat too.
but listen, the Alabama rig, like it was the only thing to throw. A couple of years ago when they was catching all them fish. But I've got 2 fish on an A rig this year, and I know that's all anybody throws. So then I start downsizing. I start playing with stuff, going a little more finesse, and I'm getting these fish to bite now. So
There's something to say about downsizing a lure. Just they talk about the fish being, opportunistic,
yeah,
and it's nothing for something to just, you think about that little crappie jig just kind of floating down real slow, and then they're like, oh shit, they open their mouth, they suck in 18 gallons of water in that little thing, and it's just an easy little morsel of a bite. It goes back
yeah,
to the episode we talked about, it's been a while ago, about Ned rigs, and that's how the Ned rig came about, was
Yeah.
him throwing that little 1/8 or whatever small one it out there, and they bit it on the fall. And there's something
yeah,
to say about downsizing like that, especially on a pressure fishery or when it's wintertime.
yeah. And a lot of these places are getting a ton of pressure. I mean, used to, you go out in the winter and there's nobody there, and now you go and, the parking lot's full.
Well, look at it now. With forward-facing sonar, people are catching 30-pound bags left and right. Milliken's
Hey,
throwing up 50-pound bags multiple
I
days a week in the wintertime. You don't see that shit in the summertime now. In the
no,
wintertime is when people are catching the massive fish, and it used to be the really, really, really good anglers on your local lakes were the only ones that could do that in the wintertime. And now the field has opened up. And because this ain't no damn forward-facing sonar podcast today, but what we're talking about now is very relevant to winter fishing. Those fish are catchable. Now
oh
we
yeah.
just know where they are and how they're reacting. I mean, man, it's
was this
amazing.
your first year with forward facing?
It was my first year of knowing what I was doing. I mean,
Okay.
there's a learning curve for
Is
sure.
there a big learning curve? Because I mean, listen, as somebody who like I don't even have a regular fucking graph on my kayak, let alone forward facing. Like I run when it comes to like that shit, like I've got cameras all over the place, but I don't have all the other stuff, right? I don't run a graph at all. So is there a big learning curve going from a regular graph to a forward facing?
Yeah. The biggest thing is I'm gonna say boat control.
Okay.
Okay, so number one, you got to find the fish, and the fish is always moving. I mean, he'll be up in the column, down in the column, left, right, weaving, never still, unless
Mhm.
he's holding on, a piece of structure or something. But most of the wintertime, I'm targeting fish that are related to bait, and so they'll be slashing through bait balls, going nuts. But yeah, you're always on. If you take your foot off the trolling motor, I mean, your boat's moving constantly. The fish is moving, so it takes a lot of time to, and part of it's luck too, because I've heard the expression. It's like throwing a touchdown pass. I mean, you're leading this fish, hoping it swims in your
Right.
path of the bait. I mean, and Josh Jones says you're going to create your own luck when you're out there. If you go enough and you make enough casts, it's bound to happen sometime.
Alex, I would say from my limited time fishing with forward facing on other people's boats and then their learning curve, you'd probably pick up on it a little bit quicker, having no
Oh,
current
because I have
knowledge of,
no
yes,
knowledge
you
of
have
it.
no knowledge or use of one right now, so you don't have
Yeah.
any preconceived notions of what the shit's supposed to be like. So you might
Yeah,
be one of those folks that could pick up on it a little bit quicker for that, unless you're
Probably not.
just a damn technological idiot.
Probably not. All right. So like somebody did leave a comment of like, when are you going to put this on your kayak? And I was like, well, one, I don't have a regular one to begin with.
Or a job.
Two, correct. As of today, I'm unemployed. But then
For
the other one
real
would,
this time.
yeah, no shit. But then would be the fishery that I fish. Like my main strength is fishing this tidal fishery in New Jersey, right? We only go 10 feet deep at a high tide.
Okay.
So I feel like I don't need forward facing. It's only 10 feet of water.
Right. You can. It's not. It wouldn't be as beneficial to you for sure as.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with the big depths because everything I understand, it's like dealing with stuff with like offshore structure. Because even when I fish other lakes, like I'm very shallow minded in fishing, just like I am with everything else in life. Right? I'm there for the clout, and no, I'm just joking. But I'm very, and maybe it's something I need to work on. But I like to fish cover. I like to fish shit I can see. I like to fish skinny water. I have a kayak. I like to fish these backwaters where there's no boats at. Like, I don't think a forward facing. I don't think strapping a piece of equipment that is more than my kayak is worth it.
I would say this to anybody that's listening: if you're not tournament fishing,
Yeah,
and if you're not out there, or you're not out there hunting for some, 8, 9 double-digit pound bass, it probably ain't worth the money. Unless you're just, unless you're Scrooge McDuck swimming around in dollar bills, it probably ain't worth it.
Well, Joey, do you tournament fish?
Yeah, I do local tournaments here on Eufaula.
Mhm.
Then I'm going to be fishing 3 trails. I know 2 are for sure, but third one's a maybe. But yeah, I just mainly fish this Lake Eufaula here,
Okay.
and
Y'all have enough.
it's gonna get hammered this year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Y'all have
saw a
enough
That
couple
local-
Bassmaster
schedules.
Opens, they're coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're coming. You guys are gonna get slammed.
Do you have enough local tournaments to make decent money fishing just the local trail?
Yeah, there's so many different trails like come out of state or far off, like Oklahoma City. They got a couple trails that come down here, but once like March hits, there'll be 2 or 3 tournaments a weekend till October. You could make decent money. Like Skeeter Trail, I think they pay 15 to win, depending on 15,000 to win, depending on how many entries. But yeah, there's some good money to be made.
Damn. Hey, lean back real quick, Joey.
What?
I love that fucking shirt. For everybody that's listening and not watching, he's got a hoodie on with a big old white license plate that says "This lake sucks." And I want to know where to get that hoodie from, or if they got a T-shirt or something, because I want to wear that every time I go fishing. And I'm going to take some black gorilla tape. I'm going to take a white paint pen, and every time I go somewhere and I do shitty, I'm just going to put the piece of tape at the bottom. This lake sucks. Falls Lake. This lake
Yes,
sucks.
sir.
Santee Keeper. I'm going to start. Where the hell we get that damn hoodie at?
This is Jordan Lee's merch. So you can go to his website. They sell out every time like this. I got it on the second drop, but
Well, if it ain't copyrighted, we can print our own, since Al has a printing station at his house.
yeah, I'm ready to wear this to a weigh-in.
But you got to put the tape on the bottom of whatever lake you're at.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of, I don't know. That was a shitty transition. Anyways, hands-on adventure. We threw this out on TikTok. Any questions?
Adventures.
Hand job adventures, right? And I want to do this more because I want to help build the community of the Brewskis to be able to ask these questions directly to you guys' favorite guests that come on here. But hands-on adventures says, if you could go anywhere in the lower 48 and fish, where would you go?
Man.
Listen, it shouldn't be that hard of a question. You commented on this post 2 days ago.
Twice.
Commented twice. I've been thinking, but I want a good smallmouth fishery, like what they did at the St. Lawrence River in the Elite. That was insane. They broke the century mark on strictly smallmouth.
Insane.
So I want to go there. And if I had a second pick, probably Okeechobee, just because I don't get to fish that type of fishery. Punch in and super shallow lakes like that. So
I
I'm gonna
think
say St. Lawrence.
Like Paul. I mean, we'll go around the corner here. Like Paul. What do you got, Paul?
I didn't know you were going to ask me this. So
I know.
I'm unprepared.
Well, you were unprepared because you showed up fucking late anyway. So,
Well, you're back, so I get leeway on doing whatever the fuck I want.
you're gonna get fired soon. We talked about it last podcast and the podcast before.
Yeah, nobody has sent you any of their resumes in yet. So good luck with that shit.
I'm gonna put that shit on Indeed. I need a podcast host.
No, dude, no. You need to post it on Craigslist, and we need to read out the shit we get on Craigslist. How funny would that
Holy
be?
shit, total suck. I'm
Hey, I
actually
got a
gonna write
question.
that down. Yeah.
I got a question. How'd y'all get this started? Like, how'd this happen?
That's a good question. Alex
that's me.
started this,
So,
and it sucked, and he invited me on, and it got good. Got awesome.
So I initially started the podcast, like full disclosure, and I've talked about this in a couple like TikToks maybe. But like, all right, so I believe in this thing when it comes to social media with this Matt Pangrak talked about it with fishing, right? The hub and spoke method. When it comes to fishing, right? Like find your base and then try to get the fringes. So I applied that to social media. And I wanted to be the next big YouTube star for fishing. And not like anybody who wants to do that, absolutely fucking go for it, right? But I initially started the podcast was to help drive traffic to my YouTube channel. That was initially the idea. And when I was thinking about like, how can I do a podcast? Like, who are the people that I know that give good interviews or just have a voice that needs to be said? And so initially the podcast was just small content creators in the fishing realm. And we ran that probably for the first 20 or so episodes. And we still hold true to that. Like we hold true to the people out there, like grinding, making fishing videos and fishing content that we fucking love to see. But I want to corner on, we brought Paul on, and Paul comes from a kayak tournament background.
I was a guest initially. Yeah. I was just a guest that came on, and episode 9, I was a guest, and then I think I've told this before, but what's funny is we were supposed to record, and I was on a family vacation. I was going to do it out on the balcony at the beach, but the internet sucked. And I was like, hey man, let's push it the next week when I'm home. And greatest decision Alex ever made. Yes.
Meant to be.
His podcasts were like 45 minutes, maybe an hour. We spent an hour and 53 minutes. I took
he
was peeing in buckets under his desk.
I did. We used to be really like, I mean, I had a list of things that we would go over. And I mean, I still have a list of things now, right, to drive a conversation. But it's not like this was like, okay, I got to go through 1 through 10. And then once we get there, we're done. And like, we got to stop. And I had a hard cap at an hour. Like we would never go over an hour. And then this fucking bearded asshole showed up and we ran over 2 hours.
So hour and 53 is what you posted. That's somewhere around there. But yeah, I ruined it all. But it all worked out. It all worked out. You know, we have a good banner back and forth. And then Alex was, going on a couple tours, finishing up his last year in the Coast Guard. And he put me in charge. And albeit some of them were a little late, but a
little late
posted.
Fuck off. No, I'm going to keep going just like today. Today was a little late.
Week, an episode was posted, and they might were late, but
they were a lot late. But Paul
there was no social
job.
Media either. So
like we literally, I think we're coming in on I think in April, right, Paul? We're coming in on 2 years of doing the show, and minus between the first episode and the second episode, there was a 2-week gap. Other than that, we have done 1 episode a week, coming up on 2 years straight. And it's because me and Paul, again, it goes to you guys, the guests and the fans. Like, I fucking love having a platform where I can get big and small on board, right? So we've had some big names, and then we've had like homies that we just like seeing their shit online, and they can come on and talk to us. And I think that's where we need to have it at this point. Like, there's big shows out there, and then I'm not shitting on any of those big shows at all. Like, they've got sponsors, they got all that. And we'd love to have sponsors. Whoever wants to sponsor us would be real fucking great. Because this bourbon in this cup ain't cheap. But
neither is making the podcast.
Correct. Like, we pay money every year to make the podcast. Like, it goes out of my pocket. Yep. And but yeah, so anyways, like, you know, short story is Jabberhammer's got to bounce. You know what the best thing, Joey, real quick, see how he left, but it's my logo.
Oh, yeah.
I did that and he doesn't realize it, that it's my logo that he shows up just to fuck with him. No, but the show is for all creators. We want to have real conversations, and we've tried to show to the community. We're here to have real conversations, and sometimes they can be uncomfortable. We've had some flack on the Alex Rudd episode about if, you know, pro bass fishing is actually a sport or not. I think that was a great conversation. And we're there to do that. We're there to have fun with folks. We're there where Paul has this. Normally he gives this line to you, Joey, in the green room before we start, but because he was so fucking late, he couldn't do it. But go ahead, Paul. Give us the line. What is it? What's the line you give to the guests?
When I reach out to people, I tell them, "Hey, you want to be on a shitty fishing podcast?" And then I shift down a couple lines. I say, imagine sitting around a campfire, drinking your favorite beverage, shooting shit, talking about fishing. And that's what it is.
Can't beat it.
No, you can't. And that usually gets people, they're like, oh, yeah, I want to do that. We hadn't had many people say no on that. Back to the beginning, to answer your question, too, is when Alex said he started this to drive to his YouTube, he realized that this was its own little animal.
Oh, it shifted.
That this was a better platform to reach out to people and to get that interaction versus the YouTube. And then when he started the TikTok, that's where I would say we got a majority of our super fans, if you want to call them that, was through the TikTok interaction and what he posted on there. And so it's been good. But yeah, that's the quick lowdown history of how this debauchery got started. To answer Alex's question, if I had to pick, was it one or two lakes?
Whatever you want to do. Okay, whatever you want to do.
One of them is the Susquehanna. I want to go there because that's been the tournaments, the kayak tournaments there have been unbelievable. And then I would say the other one is maybe Lake Fork or OHIV. One of those two. I'd have to flip a coin that morning if I was down there to drive to one of those two, but it'd be that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, and I know I kind of had an opportunity, but not really. I would love to fish the California Delta. One, I think that's in my wheelhouse a little bit. And then there's just big, giant fucking fish there.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe I could talk to Greg Blanchard, even though he was on my show and I wasn't there.
That's your own fault. You were invited. I spent like 4 months setting that up because that's when you were going to be back, and your kids did a rotten egg there.
All right, so Joey, do you know who Greg Blanchard is? You can say no.
No, I've heard the name, but I can't put a face to the.
Yeah, he's like a really big kayak. He does YouTube, but he's actually like really good. He's not just a content creator.
He's an OG kayak YouTuber, early adopter.
Yeah.
2000, before the 2010s or so, but just big in the kayak world.
He's also just a real ass dude. He's awesome. And I remember when there was a couple conversations. A lot of people think that me and Paul just fly by the seat of our pants with this show, but there's actually a lot of conversations that we have kind of off air about where we want the show to go and this and that. And we were in Cali. I was drunk as shit in a shitty Motel 6 in Oakland because that's where I had to record for a long time. And Paul was like, who's our dream guest? And he was one of them. And I think he was like, number 2 because you already had Matt Pangrak on when I wasn't there. He was also like my number 1. But and Paul worked it. He finessed it. He got this guy on. This guy's huge. He's like, I don't know how many. He's in like definitely he's like 6 figures on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like he's a big kind of fucking dude. And it was all lined up. It was gonna be me and Paul, and then my kids got really fucking sick the day of recording, and my wife happened to be had to do like a union meeting, and they're like the kids are literally vomiting and shitting all over the place, and I'm like, how can I make this work? And I'm trying to like juggle, and I'm like, fuck, bro, I don't think it's gonna happen. By the time the unholy exits of these children's bodies were done, it was like 10 o'clock, and I was like, there's no fucking way. Little did I know that Jabberhammer was on with him for over 3 hours.
Wow.
He never told me that either. He never told me that either. So
he saw it when he had to post it. He saw it for sure. Hey, I hope you're going to ask some of my damn tic-tac questions that I asked.
We are, Joey. We're not going to do that first. Let's go to your boy T Fishing from TikTok asks, lure attractant. Yes or no? If yes, which brand and scent?
Okay. No on just solely lure attractors, but like Berkeley power bait, that scented. I mean, I've caught more fish on Berkeley power bait worms and their other products that have that scent than any other plastic out there. So
have you used the swing jigs that are infused, like, or any of their jigs that it's infused in the skirt?
The slobber knocker, I don't know if it's infused, but I think it's got some sort of smell.
It is. Yeah. It's infused power bait.
Yeah. I've used that. Just started using it, but I've already caught them on it. So.
Yeah.
I think there's a time and place for it. Definitely doesn't hurt. So
right. That's right.
I will say, nobody asked me, they asked Joey, but I will say, if you're going to use something with a skirt, I prefer none of that gel shit. I prefer something in an aerosol because I feel like the gel binds up the skirt.
Yeah, I could see where, like, if it sat on there for a period of time, it could deteriorate it or something.
Well, what you got to do is you got to put the jig in your mouth and then squirt a big old glob, about half a dollop of the scent, the gel scent in your mouth, and hold it in there and slosh it around for 15, 30 seconds, and then it's all worked in.
Oh yeah, that's the go-to method.
I want to let all the listeners know we had to reach out to get fishing questions for our guest tonight, because this is how bad of a fishing podcast this is.
No,
Alex and I don't have enough fishing questions.
Listen, it has nothing to do with that. It's called bringing the community in. Paul, you are the worst. You show up late, you kick in the door with bullshit information, you drink your White Claw Surge, and then you fucking leave.
Well, you have to be honest with yourself, and we know we're not the experts. That's why we have on guests, and that's why we reach out to our Brewski community.
No. All right. Fuck you, Paul. Fuck you, Paul. I feel like that was fuck you.
Look, man.
All right, then, okay.
I felt like our legitimacy was growing a little too much. I had to bring it down a tad.
I saw that. Well, I'll bring it down. I'll bring it right. I'll bring it right down here. Joey, this is from I'm not going to name the person because this person is they're a special case, but they want to know, if you had to choose between drinking pickle juice and finding out that you're going to be bald, which one do you choose?
Damn, I'm drinking pickle juice.
See, again, so I put this awesome post out there, and it was community building, you know what I mean? And like, I'm trying to reach out to Joey's fans too, like, we're all gonna build together. And then my co-host goes in there like a bull of bullshit and asks about pickle juice.
Hey, have y'all ever seen y'all need to go watch, just Google or go on YouTube, hippopotamus fling shit.
Oh, I've seen it.
You've seen it.
Man.
That is when Alex is here.
Flying around.
Yeah, flying around, slinging shit everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm the hippopotamus tail flinging shit on the Bass and Brews podcast.
I can't wait till I get a new co-host. Also, did you change your background? Like, I feel like
it's been like this since
it's an angle different anyways. Anyways,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
moved the camera onto the light, so it's a
Gotcha.
little bit further back, so you can see the Donald Duck hat better.
All right, Joey, you said you're a power fisherman. But there's those times where you got to go finesse, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So what's your most hated lure that you got to go to, but it's going to catch fish?
You got me on this one. Hated lure. Here we go.
Man.
Like, you know what I mean? Like this is the one that you're
yeah.
like, I know this is going to catch fish, but it
Mhm.
fucking kills me on the inside that I'm going to have to break this out.
All right, I'm going to say this. So a lot of the times, I mean, you can get away with power fishing year round here because due to the water clarity. I mean, these fish live shallow year round, so you can throw this stuff. But I'm going to say drop shot.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like slowing down, which I know you got to sometimes, but I don't like to just drag something on the bottom.
Hold on, I want to go back to where you
It's-
said because it's so shallow and dirty where you're at. I got the same thing here. So you feel like you don't need to like slow down during that just because of the water clarity? Just like even if the water gets super cold and I don't know how cold it gets there, but let's use an example of 40 degrees. You're still banging shit up against stuff.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, you gotta have a spinner bait tied on all the time. Double Colorado or a single Colorado. Whichever one. But like a crankbait, just banging shallow. Like these fish, they're shallow fish year round. It don't matter what the water temp is, because I mean, what I've learned from forward facing sonar, like they say they're super lethargic and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't move. All right, well, I think that's not necessarily the case. I think the fish have just pulled off a little bit. There's not as many fish shallow, but most, like the ones that I'm targeting in the winter this time of year, they're all bait related. They're either under the bait, on top of the bait, or roaming to find the bait. I mean,
Okay.
they're active. They're super active, but I just don't think there's as many fish when it gets this cold. Plus, not a lot of people fish when it gets super cold and it's dirty, because that's the worst conditions
Mhm.
you can face. But
Let's
That's
talk
interesting.
about the lethargicness that people talk about on fish. First of all, they're fucking cold blooded, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Yep, they're cold blooded. The they don't feel cold like we do as humans. The lethargic part of it is they don't feed as often. They don't have to feed as often. It doesn't mean that the motherfucker goes 10 miles an hour. I'm making shit up here if you can't realize on the numbers side. They don't go 10 miles per hour in the winter, in the summertime, and then the wintertime they go 1 mile per hour. When they go after something, they can still go after it. It's they don't eat as much in the wintertime, but when they feed, they gonna eat like a regular old fish.
yeah, and if they want something, they're gonna get it. I don't care
Mhm.
what the water temp is.
There you go.
They're not gonna let it get by them if they want it.
And that's
It's
what
crazy.
we're seeing with the forward facing sonars. We're seeing that the fish behavior isn't what we've always thought it was. It is it has opened up a whole new damn world for sure.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean the forward facing sonar's been out for like, I don't know, what, 6-7 years now.
Yeah, it's been on a while.
Okay, and before then, like, how were they tracking or studying fish behavior?
It was all anecdotal evidence.
Right.
What I did, how
Just
I
what
caught them this day and this weather and all this is all anecdotal, 100%.
and now, you got guys that have been watching fish for 5, 6, 7 years, year round, and seeing how they behave. And I mean, those guys are the ones that know a fish
Mhm.
behavior. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think that's the biggest takeaway. I like literally what you just said right there is the biggest. There's more people like studying down on it, right? It's not just getting the forward facing, it's the putting the work in to understand behavior more. And this is a tool that lets you understand the behavior of the fish that we're trying to catch.
And Ben Milliken,
100%.
if you ever listen to the podcast he's on or watch his YouTube channel, he shares all of that information, and he
I'd
really
really
does
like
talk
Ben
about.
Milliken to share that information on our podcast. How do we get
Yes, I
Ben
would.
Milliken over here?
You know what? That's a off the air conversation. But he really talks about the fish behavior a lot. That's why I love listening to him, because he that's
Great.
one
Yeah.
of the main thing that he really dials in on with using that. To go back on your muddy water sides, Jordan Lake here in Raleigh and Falls as well, they get super dirty. They have a lot of runoff from the couple cities here, so they get super dirty. In the springtime, the pre-spawn, I throw a lot of the red rattle traps, lipless crankbaits. But if we ever get one of those rains that come in where it muddies the water all to hell, that's the only other time I'll take a lipless crank out there, because again, our fish are kind of muddy water fish in those two lakes. They'll tear it up. I mean, the vibration, the lateral line, especially if it's not a place you want to throw a crankbait with a lot of laydowns or something like that. That lipless, that's the only other time I throw it during the years we get a lot of mud.
Right. Yeah, you can be super aggressive with those fish. And like I've heard people say the fish in Florida, they use more of their vision instead of feeding off their lateral lines. And he said he's never, like John Suckup was the one that said it, but he says all the places that he's fished, usually it's they feed by their lateral line. But I mean, Ben Milliken, he said, I've thrown at a fish and it came 15 feet. Like, here's the splash, or felt the splash, comes 15 feet, meets the bait in the water column, and then catches it.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I have not mentioned this in a while, but spoon plugging, old Buck Perry, the grandfather of offshore fishing and fish behavior, structure fishing. There were a lot of things that he says that really don't line up now, but there's a lot of stuff that he preached in his fishing that now with forward-facing sonar, you're like, God, this was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s,
Right.
stuff that he said that he learned just from time on the water and understanding fish behavior before anything to do with lures or lure color. It was, depth and speed. That's the two main controls. The forward-facing sonars put that in the limelight, and at some point, somebody famous is going to go back and reference the teachings that he had and be like, this is the Bible of offshore fishing, and make it mainstream again.
But unfortunately, because we have such good SEO, they're going to look that up, and it's going to be this podcast, and it's going to be you talking about it, and they're going to get fucking nothing out of it, Paul.
Well, if you go buy the spoon plugging book, you're going to pay about $40 or $50 for an old ass used.
It's a lot more than that. I want to go
what
back
is this
to
off of Amazon for $40? I was like, I bought a book. She said for $40.
I want to go back to the dirty water. I think that was really interesting. So you said that they were saying that a dirty water fish reacts more off the lateral. Reacts more off sight than the lateral.
Vice versa. They use more of their lateral.
Okay.
Obviously clear water.
Yeah.
A fish is going to use its eye. Fish are smart, and they're getting smarter. Yeah. But like in these clear water fisheries, they're using both, but they're going to rely more on their vision if they can. Gotcha. They're going to use their upper hand. They're smart.
Mm-hmm. Well, you think about the history of bass. They originated from the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
There were no largemouth bass, 100,000, how many ever thousands of years ago, anywhere but the Mississippi River, until people started moving them. And the Mississippi River is a bunch of deltas and it's muddier water.
Yeah.
I mean, the largemouth bass is built to be a nasty ass, dirty water. That is where they come from.
It's a ditch barrel.
Yeah. I mean, that's their home. That's what they know. But
I think that's really weird though, because again, more title, like so like a bladed jig, no reaction where I'm at. Really? No reaction. I can fish this river up and down. I have never, and I've fished this river for 5+ years now. I've never caught a bass on a bladed jig, ever.
Ain't that crazy? You see
Ever.
everybody else smashing them.
Smashing them, right? I spent buco bucks buying these fucking jackhammers. Nothing. Swim jig with the right trailer, on the other hand, annihilate them. Annihilate them. And I can't, like, I understand what you're saying. So I'm thinking with the title, because it moves, right? And this is just my what am I about a full cup of bourbon into this, right? So here's my theory, is that because the river is constantly moving, there's a constant noise, right? Because water is consistently moving past docks and pilings and gravel and everything else, that they've given up on that and they're only doing visual.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, almost, right? I mean, it's dirty. It's South New Jersey, so our water is super tannic, like Florida. Basically, it's like rum water, basically, right?
Right.
So you got to have, like, black and blues are killer, right? But I'm telling you, 5+ years, shit, actually, like 6+ years, never caught a fish on this tidal fishery with a chatterbait ever.
That's crazy. And see, like, and that's the deal. Every fishery is different. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to a fishery here, then go to one 5 miles down the road, and they may look the same. They may have similar, setups and conditions, and fish totally different.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but I guess that's why it keeps.
I mean, that's
keeps
the
us
draw
going
of it,
back.
right? That's the draw of it. And I think, like it sounds like you've honed in on Lake Eufaula, right? That's like your home base. That's what and I appreciate that. I know a lot of people say, like, and I you know what? They're probably right. Like, you should branch out to more waterways, blah, 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 blah. But there's also something to be said about finding something that you're close to, that you like to fish, that is challenging, and then just master that body of water.
Yeah, and it's so big. Like, you can fish however you want. I mean, you can fish a different style every day of the month,
Right.
and and the thing about it is, it's never the same condition. Like I said, one day it's 8 foot high, next
Right.
week it's 2 foot low, and the watercolor is different. I mean, it's always changing. But now in the winter, like here recently, like, it don't fish that great in the winter, so I've been focusing on these smaller lakes. And see, we have a Florida strain stocking program in Oklahoma.
Really?
Not as good as Texas, but
Yeah. Texas is out of hand at this point.
but I've been focusing on these smaller lakes, and just practicing forward-facing sonar, and then gearing up for Eufaula come springtime. So I want to talk about the month of January that I just had.
Okay.
Best fishing month I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Okay. Me and a buddy, or right before I left to go to work, I went out and I hadn't fished this since last winter. Go there, I catch a 780, a 602, and a 520. I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
sir.
Then I had to leave the next day, and I was like, damn it, I want to fish so bad, because I was on to something. So I go work a week, come back, or I was fishing by myself, and I'd caught a 7 and caught one that was 4 something, and I called him and was like, hey, come jump in the boat if you want. So he comes in. We end up catching 33.75 on our best 5. Best 5, 33.75. I go the next day, take another guy. We catch 35.83 on our best 5.
What?
I catch a
910.
910. I've got the pictures on my phone. A 910. He had a 7. Had a 3 6s. It was nuts. So then I got to go back to work, and then I take off that Thursday. Go out there by myself. I catch 32.87 by myself on my best 5.
Hold on a sec. You deserve this.
Yeah. It was nuts.
That is fucking phenomenal.
It was absolutely nuts. And I lost one. I don't know how big this thing was. I mean, I seen it. It made my 9 look like a baby.
Yeah.
That's
And it just pulled off. But I was doing a little finesse. I was using a damn 2-aught hook. And I lost several fish with this thing. I could just feel like it. If you don't get them in the top lip with this thing,
uh-huh.
you get them, down in their throat, or not in their throat, but in the mouth area, and you just get that skin, and that skin will just tear.
Pop
But
right off. Yeah.
It was freaking nuts.
That was in January of all fucking months is insane.
But that again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier with people catching huge bags January to March. Now, we know people can catch those bags in the spawn that March, April, May. But that January, February, early March, before the water starts to warm up in a warming trend, people are catching those bags in the absolute dead of winter. Were you deep or shallow?
These fish were in the deepest part of this body of water, and they were bait related. This time of year, it's all bait related. They'll either be positioned below the bait, above the bait, or they're swimming to find the bait. It's all got to do with the bait.
On the bait, do they bite better positioned on a certain, if they're below or above, do they bite better that you've seen?
If they're above, 100%.
Okay.
100%. And
that makes sense, right? Because you're dropping your bait in front. They get to see that first instead of your bait getting lost in all the actual real bait.
All right. Yeah. The other question I have for this then, so the top, what's your bait fish that they're keying in on?
Little threadfin or gizzard. I'm not sure what's in this fishery, but it's just they're, I don't know, 3-4 inch bait fish. I see them on my forward facing sonar, but
I would guess that the threadfin being that small this time of year, because usually your bait fish are going to be the biggest they're going to be at this time of year.
Right.
I want to talk about how, like, when people talk about having a great fishery, right? They talk about, hey, my state's got a great fishery. I feel like this is a key moment here where, like, I love fishing in New Jersey. I think it's awesome. There's fucking no way I'm putting those bags together in January that you did in this fucking state. And that's awesome.
The thing. That's the thing. You've got to fish bodies of water that have it, or you're never going to do it. Because if I fished Eufaula, the biggest bag that I've ever heard out of Eufaula is maybe mid-20s. I'm sure there's been some upper 20s, but and it's all due to these Florida strain. If you're not fishing one of these bodies of water that have Florida strain in them, then you're not going to do it.
The only Florida strain that we have in New Jersey is the trash that shows up around the springtime to hang out. And they're not bass, they're just ass.
Hey, mark this, because that's a ticky tack. Mark it.
Okay.
That's a ticky tack.
Is it also a ticky tack? Listen, I know he was super professional. This is the first time I'll break it. I got a pee-pee, so I'll be right back. But we don't stop.
We just keep going. I had to tinkle earlier. You just get up and leave. Don't bust yourself. Joe, if you got to go tinkle, you need to go tinkle, but you can't go tinkle when it's just me and you. So you're going to have to hold it till Alex gets back. You got to go. But anyway.
I'm good. I'm good.
Learning the fish that you caught this past January. Would you have caught those fish if you didn't have the forward facing?
I watched every single fish eat my bait. Every single one of them.
How did you find the fish initially to then dial into them with the forward facing, or did you just get to a spot, a good structure point? This looks like a contact point, and say, hey, I'm going to drop the forward facing and scan to see if I see anything, or are you using side imaging? How are you targeting those fish? How are you finding those fish initially? That's the part that to me is most important. Can't catch fish where fish ain't. Buck
Right.
Perry circa 1950 something. But anyway, what were you doing to initially find those fish?
So first thing I do is try to find deep water because that's where the bait's going to be. And most of the time they'll be sucked to the bottom. It don't matter how deep it is. I'm going to say on average, I've seen the bait suck to the bottom 50, 60 foot of water if the fishery's that deep. But if the fishery, say 30 feet or 25 feet, they'll still be sucked to the bottom. But whenever you get those bait that are suspended, I don't know what causes it. I don't know if it's just a day-to-day deal, but they'll suspend and they'll get those fish off the bottom and roaming around. But find deep water and start looking for bait. And if you look long enough, then you'll find the bass.
All right, so find deep water. Look for the bait that's not on the bottom, that is more suspended, and you're going to find fish. Now, are you to get to that point where you start scanning for those suspended bait fish in deep water? Are you starting on structure? Like what brings you to that point before you even start scanning to start looking for them there? Is it structure related, or is it just intuition?
Just deep water. Just
All
deep
right.
water.
Look,
Like,
I'm
just
squeezing
say,
this lemon. I'm squeezing this lemon, y'all, and the only thing that's happening is the little squirts from the skin are shooting me in my eye right now because
look, run to the dam of your body of water and find the bait there, and that's a good place for, or ditches. I mean, just any deep water in the
Right.
winter, creek channels, the dam. I mean, wherever there's deep water, there's going to be bait in the winter.
in deep water, find the suspended bait fish.
They don't have to be suspended, but that's
Okay.
ideal
Okay.
because when you're trying to target those fish that are on bottom, right? So I've seen this, like when all the baits suck to the bottom, there'll be some fish up in the column. They may be right above the bait, but there's some that'll just freelance, just roam. And I've caught fish that in 40 foot of water are 6 feet under the surface with nothing around. I don't see anything but that fish. I mean, these fish do whatever they want. It's crazy, but I don't know, just the more time you spend looking for stuff, then I mean, just like hunting.
And are
You know,
you
more
using a lot of side scan in this initial search?
not really, but I will if it's a super big body of water. Like some of these places aren't that big,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's that big, then yeah, I'll put my 2D on and side scan and just try to cruise around until I find bait. Once I find bait, drop the trolling motor and then just start looking, just scanning. I'll set it on like 6 or 7 and then just pan my trolling motor left to right, left to right, left to right until I find something.
Gotcha.
So a lot of this is experience you have to go to a body of water and find these fish. And it sounds like you'd be comfortable going to, if I blindfolded you and I hold you and your boat to a lake, dropped it in the water, pushed the boat off, took off your blindfold and said, let's go find 30-pound bags. You feel comfortable at least getting to a place that has the potential.
I could get to a place that has fish. Now, whether a 30-pound bag is in the coming, and that's just got to be a special day. You know what I mean?
All right. So
This is
wait. Hold on.
semantics.
To
But
play off
you're telling
Paul's,
me you could get us
yeah,
in the area that potentially
exactly.
has the 30-pound bag.
Yeah, if it's got it.
There we go.
No,
That's
no. I
what I
mean,
want to hear.
yeah, exactly. So what Paul's saying is, with the skills that you've gained this last year, you're comfortable saying you can go to any body of water and put up a sizable bag appropriate to that body of water.
Above average bag to that body of water.
Depending on the time of year, because this is strictly a winter thing, really.
Right
now.
Yeah, like
Okay.
the coldest time of the year. Because once them fish start, like I seen it last year. I was catching fish at Eufaula, and they were probably 150 yards off this creek channel swing bank, just out there in this channel, chasing bait.
Mhm.
I caught them there for a month. And then as the water started getting warmer, I started seeing less fish. And I was like, these suckers are moving shallow. So then I had a tournament coming up, and I was like, I'm going to have to mix in a little bit of both because I'm seeing these fish disappear. So I went shallow, and then I'd go out deep. Shallow, go out deep. And it paid off because I caught the biggest fish, like I was telling you, in 40 foot of water, suspended just 6 foot down.
But you're saying as spring rolls around, right? It's coming up.
Yeah.
Forward facing means a little less during that because they're in different spots where forward facing isn't that advantageous.
Yeah. Well, the way I was catching them, they were just roaming fish on
Mhm.
bait. Now, if I transition that to staging spots like on brush piles, then I could utilize forward facing sonar. But
Gotcha.
these you can always utilize it in some way, shape, or form, but you just got to know what the fish are doing. The whole thing is finding fish. If you can't find fish, then it's
Can't
pointless.
catch fish where fish ain't.
Yeah.
And so this is what what fishing is. What I enjoy the most about it is finding the fish, and that's why people say time on the water, time on the water. Time on the water gives you the experience to say, this day with these conditions, the fish should be in this area. And we start in this area where we think they should be based on the conditions, but then the great anglers, the professionals, what they have the ability to do is they get into the area, but then they can find where they are within that area.
It's
That's
amazing. Those
yeah,
guys.
that's a separate that's what separates the pros, the people who make a living off of this, unless they're cutting grass still, is that they can find the general area that a fish should be for this, and then they dial in to where the fish are, and they have to do it on limited practice. I mean, it's a lot of on the go to do that. What in again, this has turned into a four facing sonar podcast, but I don't give a fuck because this shit is. But this is really this is great information because what you've done is you can go back to that lake that you fish in January and caught 3 bags over 30 pounds, and you can go to that general area in May. And I don't know exactly when fish start moving up for you, but you can go back to that general area and start to find fish staging on those brush piles, those rock piles. You know, you're going to have your biggest fish as a whole generally move up in bed before the other ones. Down here, we'll have the majority of big fish, let's say 6 pounds and more in my area, are gonna, conditions are average, but they're gonna start moving up in February. They're gonna spawn a little deeper than others. But if you get in that general area, you can start to find them, and forward facing sonar gives you the opportunity to really find specific fish, whereas before we couldn't.
Yeah. A lot of this guy, it was nut. All right, so middle of spawn, or it's kind of pre-spawn. Some fish are spawning, and he was targeting brush piles with a jerk bait, and you see that pattern all over now, like on the pro level. Most of them guys, that's all they're targeting is those pre-spawn fish setting up to spawn in some sort of brush pile or standing timber, stuff like that. But yeah, you're gonna always find a way to utilize it and find those fish that are, as long as they're not dirt shallow, then
Yep.
you're gonna be catching fish.
Those pre-spawn stagers, that's the deal. That's the deal.
Yeah,
And then those
that's the deal.
post-spawn stagers are the deal too. They just done lost all their weight and dropped their eggs and stuff like that. But this whole conversation to me, and why I asked you about if we could just take you to a lake, blindfold you, drop you, and go find that bag, right? It's all relative to the fisheries, the fish in the fishery. But again, it comes down to finding the fish. And
that's all it is.
yeah, the fish are going to be, I can't remember who said this or what, might have been again, Milliken. I don't know. I think it was, but anyway, they said in the wintertime, you just go to or any fishery, any time of year, you go to the most pretty point on the main lake, and there are going to be fish on it year round. Year round, they're going to be there. You just have to find, it's a timing thing. So are they biting? Yes or no? If you find them, you got to find them, and then it's a timing thing. Or if they're here and they're not biting now, let me come back in an hour. Let me come back in 2 hours. Let me keep checking them. But if they're here at some point, they're going to bite.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to go back to the Milliken comment. And this is like my main job on this show. I can't figure out if and maybe the Bab historian can let us know, but are you trying to make sure that Milliken's mentioned more than what was it, catfish, kayak fishing?
Kayak catfish. Look, man, I mentioned folks that
You've
are relevant
mentioned
to
Milliken.
the conversation.
You are name dropping more than Alex Rudd did on his sponsors on our show.
I mention it when it's relevant to the conversation we're having. But apparently we got the damn Ben Milliken of Oklahoma on the podcast tonight because my man put up 3 30-pound bags.
It's insane.
I mean, shit, that's I'm not familiar with the Oklahoma fisheries, but holy shit, that's some big ass bass.
Yeah, it's not very common here for 30+ pound bags. There was a few this in January, but it's not super common by no means.
Joey, where the fuck do those fish go in the summertime?
Dude, once I figure that out, I'll have something.
You're talking about big bags, and I will say, and this is all gonna, rewind back to a past episode, but I saw maybe it was recent, not so recent, but I saw a post where you caught a paddlefish. That's big where you're at, right?
Yeah. That was under Eufaula Dam. I had never done it. I was watching YouTube videos, and I was like, man, I want to snag one of them things because that's the only way you catch them is snag.
Correct.
Barbless hook.
Yep.
And so I watched a YouTube video, seen how they was tying the setup, went down there. My dad lived 3 miles from the dam, so went to his house, went to the dam store. That's what it's called. And got the stuff, went down there, and first time out, snagged that spoonbill.
That's
what did it taste like?
Didn't eat it. I just let it go.
What?
And there's
Why?
there's certain days that you can only keep them.
Yeah.
But I mean, why? Look, if I'm gonna go catch a fish I ain't never ate before, I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna catch it, and we gonna fry it up. We gonna fillet it out. We gonna fry it up, or we make a fish ball.
I mean, this goes back to that Alex Rudd episode, right? Like, I'm obsessed with spoonbill fishing. One, because there's fucking none of that in New Jersey or in Washington State, where I'm from. Never fucking seen this fish before. It looks prehistoric. It looks awesome. But I listened to this podcast about this whole like Russian caviar trade that had to deal with fucking spoonbills in the Ozarks, right? And it's just a whole thing. Super obsessed with it, and it's really funny because I was like, man, is Joey actually the TikTok algorithm? Like, he understands that I talked about it, and then all of a sudden there's a spoonbill picture up. Like, it was fucking crazy.
I've caught a couple others after that. One, I was down under the dam, just fishing for sand bass or striper with a little swim bait.
What's a sand bass?
It's I think they're called white bass, sand
White
bass.
Okay. All right.
What do they taste good?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like they got a little bit of red meat, but once you cut that out, then you're good.
All right. I love the red meat.
All right, then you'd love these. But yeah, I've caught a couple others, but never ate one.
All right.
They're all right.
And the only reason I asked about the sand bass, right? Like, it's one of those regional terms where it can go everywhere. Like,
yeah.
That's a white bass where I'm at, which is actually basically a white perch.
But those are two completely different fish. A white perch, where I'm at, we have white perch,
Yeah.
and people call them white bass because
Yeah.
you can put your thumb in their fucking mouth. I'm like,
Yep.
that ain't a white bass, dude. That's a perch. And if you and perch, you fillet a perch out, man, they good eating. They better than crappie. They ain't as good as a bass over 8 pounds filleted out.
Oh,
But they
shut
are
up, Paul.
delicious.
Shut up, Paul.
They are delicious.
Imagine if somebody put a TikTok of filleting 8, 9, 10 pound bass.
Paul would do
There's a
it, but
couple.
he can't catch bass that big.
Yeah, I can't catch them that big, so I can't fillet them out. Hey, what bass boat are you fishing out of?
I got a 2008 Champion 200.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's an old school boat. It's probably heavy, which means that
It's
in
a
those
tank.
rough waters out on Eufaula, you probably handle it pretty well.
Yeah, I love it. It's heavy and it'll still go. I think I've got it to 71, but I mean, I like to cruise at like 50, 55. That's like the best ride. And it
Miles
takes on
per
waves
hour?
great. Yeah.
You're talking to two kayak guys. Like, I fish out of a bass boat, unlike Alex, but I only own a kayak. Look, when I got a motor on my kayak and I could pedal with it at the same time, and I hit 5.5 miles per hour, you should see the fucking rooster tail coming out.
It's
the
funny
ass end
because
of
I
that
can.
bitch. Look, if
I can still
I
hit
weighed
5 miles per
68
hour.
pounds less,
Yeah, there
a
it is.
rooster tail would be
He's such a
3
fat
foot.
ass. He's
I
such a
know.
fat ass because I can hit 5 miles an hour in my pedal kayak without an extra motor.
I am
He's got to use some extra
So
motor.
I'm fatter and taller than Alex, but Alex only can hit 5 miles per hour pedaling as fast as his little teeny legs will pedal for like
It
a
looks-
short distance. Alex is like an alligator. He can swim. He can run 35 miles per hour for 10 feet, but I can take the motor off. I can pedal 5 miles per hour for about 2
Listen,
miles before I got.
I don't want to give this out because I feel like Paul should have done it, but I can't miss the joke. I'm like the Oompa Loompas in when they're paddling that paddle boat down the river. Like, I don't know why Paul misses that one.
Because I have never seen the Charlie Chocolate Factory or whatever the fuck it's called in full.
What?
So
What?
never. Neither one.
What's
of
wrong
them.
with your childhood?
I was out catching snakes and wild cats and possums and all kinds of other shit. I didn't have time for no fucking
Jesus.
TV. I was
All right.
fishing.
Wow.
You were in Washington State
Fishing,
pretending to be, I don't even know, Tony Hawk.
fly fishing also. Thank you. I was doing the ribbon dancing.
Hell yeah.
The meanest anglers on earth. Fly
Yeah,
anglers.
no shit. All right, at that note, all right. So Joey, we're about ready to get to the most controversial part.
Wait. Nothing. I just wanted to interrupt Alex.
You son of a
Wow.
bitch. All right,
I
we're
thought he
about ready to
had
get to the
something.
most controversial part of our show. This is either going to make or break you when it comes to the brewskis, as they like to be called, or just the world, as a whole, because this show is absolutely international. So before we get there, I'd like to give you a chance to shout out whoever you'd like to and let people know where they can find you at.
Shout
Okay.
out. Hey-o.
TikTok, obviously, Joey Fitzer, and then Instagram, Joey Fitzer Fishing. Can find me there. And got a couple sponsors, Waterland and 6 Cents Fishing.
Nice.
Check out their products. Make some pretty good stuff.
They absolutely freaking do. We'll have news about that at the end of the show. So everybody stay tuned.
Fitzer with a Z. Y'all.
Yes.
That's right. Fitzer is the discount code if you want to save a little bit of money.
Man, hold on a sec. You got your own. You don't have like a number after it. You were so
No.
special. You just got
Yeah,
the
he's big
Fitzer.
time.
Man,
I
this
just
is
got straight
hell,
last name.
hell yeah. I don't think we have ever had anybody on this podcast that I
We have
can
not.
recall that had a discount code with just the name. That's badass, right? Look, y'all, we are in the presence of royalty.
All right.
You're not going to pick on me how I said royalty.
Nope, not. I'm actually just done fucking talking to you, Paul. I like talking to Joey, hate talking to you. No, just joking. That got real mean.
You know
I
what?
apologize. I got real mean, Paul.
Don't apologize. I mean, you are my podcast wife.
Yeah.
And you sound exactly like my housewife. But she ain't the housewife. She's the breadwinner. She just lives in the house. You know what I mean? Shit.
All
She don't
right,
listen
here
to
we are.
podcasts. I'm safe.
Again, we've
Joey,
either
did you realize the dumb shittery that was going to happen tonight when you?
Oh yeah, I was ready.
There we go. There we go.
All right, this is either going to elevate your career or put it in the dark waters. This is the shotgun round.
Damn.
Yeah. Texas or wacky?
Ooh, I'm a Texas rig.
Hold on,
Like it.
Alex.
I don't need to explain it. He knows it. Shut up.
You got to ask the other question I asked you on TikTok.
No, I'm not going to ask that one. That one's
I'm going to
dumb.
ask it then. Go ahead and
Then
ask the
you
next
can
question
ask it.
while I
Thanks.
find this TikTok.
Thanks. Crocs or flops?
Crocs.
Nice pick.
Yes,
I have insulated Crocs that I wear.
Insulated Crocs.
Excuse me. Tell me about these the people in the South can't say insulation. They call it installation. Tell me about these insulated Crocs.
They just got a lining of like.
Oh, the fur, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's fur or what the heck it is, but
it's the boots with the fur.
It keeps your feet warm. I mean, that's my go-to shoe or whatever you want to call it, footwear in the winter.
All right.
All right. Next question. If your big toe is shorter than your thumb, does that make you want Wendy's or Burger King?
Burger King.
Oh my God. This is over. This man chose fake plain broiled burgers over fresh square patties.
No, stop. He's
a square patty. Where do you see a square patty at?
At Wendy's, because that bitch is fresh and it's when you bite into a
Whopper is probably the best fast food burger ever.
Oh, see, this is somebody from New Jersey who I don't even know what to say. I'm about to kick myself out the damn.
I like a Baconator, but I like the Whopper too.
Yeah. You're on the way to the lake. Is it slow jams or hype music?
Man, I like to get hyped up.
Yeah.
I'll go with some hype.
What for you specifically? What's hype music for you? Because I know you're from Oklahoma, so I'm waiting to hear some country ass shit.
Man, some Whiskey Myers. I wouldn't say. I listen to all different kinds: hip hop, rock.
I get it, but for you, when you're heading down, you're like, yo, I need to be fucking hyped for this tournament.
Georgia, Florida line.
Let me see. Co Wetzel.
Who?
He's got Co Wetzel. He's from Texas, and he's like a red dirt rock / guy. He's got some cool.
Yeah, don't listen to Alex chastising you about music, because this motherfucker listens to music without words, and it ain't like symphony or anything like that. Like he listens to like rap music and rock and roll without words.
I do.
What kind of psychopath I'm on this podcast with is
I'll tell you, a lot of the times I don't even listen to anything. I'm just locked in, ready to get to the lake and start fishing.
Wait,
if you roll up to me and I'm listening to a podcast or music or some bullshit like that, my fishing day ain't going good.
I'm
listening to music because I don't want to talk to you.
Hold on, I'm so shocked. I slapped the mic, Joey. You're telling me you sit in the truck on the way to the boat ramp with nothing on?
I've got all kinds of stuff going through my head before I get to the lake, and I'm having all kinds of conversations in my head by myself.
Listen, man,
hold on, Alex, Joey. This comes from a guy who don't fish tournaments. He don't know how to get his mind right.
You're right. I think you both are psychopaths if you at any point in time sit in the car with no music on or anything.
That would be more of a sociopath, but I agree.
All right. I can't believe you figured those two out. Yeah. So you guys are both sociopaths.
Have you question, Shouty?
Where are we at now? I'm trying to remember.
Do I really have to pull this
them up
again?
All right. you're an outdoorsy guy. Have you ever eaten beaver?
Never tried beaver.
Okay.
It's delicious. Y'all have beavers. Y'all should try it. It really is.
Paul,
Gotta
killed a
cook it up
couple,
like
but
gotta cook it up like you would a whole pig. Put it in the crock pot if you got to, but slow and slow. It is some good meat.
Are you a net guy or a boat flip guy?
man, depending on the circumstance, I like a good boat flip. But if I'm in a tournament, I'll reach for the net because I've had some heartbreaks.
Hell yeah! Hey,
Wow.
look on the latest KBM podcast, they had Lambert and Jordan Marshall on, and they were talking about boat flipping. They had a boat guy that was coming into the kayak world, and they talked about that. And Jordan Marshall was like, "I'm gonna tell you right now, get a net, a long arm net, because I have lost a bunch of money trying to boat flip some shit in a kayak."
Yeah.
Pineapple.
Net
Go ahead.
net is the safest bet
It is.
for sure.
I think especially for, I mean, me and Paul both kayak. I think the net is probably the best way to do it. A boat's a little easier, I feel like, because you have that leverage to like pop them up and get them in. And
And
we
if
don't
they
have
hit
that.
the deck in a boat, you got a chance
good.
to lay on them. In the kayak, you
You're
either go
right there.
overboard, overboard, or the bitch comes in and hits the kayak and bounce right out. You know, I mean,
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
Wrong answer. All right, we're done. Everybody have a good night. No, just joking.
Oh, I was about to say, you done fucked that up before. Hey, pineapple on pizza, though, would you eat it if it was free?
Oh, hell yeah.
There we go. My man. There it is.
All right, Paul, before I get to the most important question, the thing that's sunk political leaders, fishing influencers, and half of the Kardashians, do you have any that I missed?
Oh, no, I think you got them on. First time ever since you've been back. Good job. And you didn't try to rename the shotgun round to some.
No, it's shotgun round.
All
right. As I mentioned, this is literally sunk political leaders. It sent the Kardashians in a clear split because they couldn't figure out the right answer. And at least 5 podcasts have stopped broadcasting because of the backlash they got from this. So every good fisherman loves a sandwich. What are your top 3 sandwich proteins?
I'm mainly a Black Forest ham guy.
Oh man, very specific, and I love it.
I don't know if we've had black. I could be
not.
wrong. We'll have to ask the Bab historian.
We will.
But Black Forest ham, hell yes.
And then usually that's my go-to if I even make a sandwich. Most of the time I just forget about food and get an energy drink and hit the lake.
What energy drink are you drinking?
Yeah, you can substitute number 2 with an energy drink. Monster Pink.
Oh, the pink.
Yeah.
Ultra strawberry. First time that I've had it.
Is that the juice or the carbonated?
It's non-carbonated.
Okay.
I think this thing just came out, but I'll either grab a Ultra Zero Monster or a Red Bull, depending on the day.
Right. He's going with the sandwich proteins to be Black Forest ham, Monster, or Red Bull. I fucking love it. All right, Joey. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Well, hold on. We didn't get the third one.
He said Monster or Red Bull.
But that's not a protein.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul. If you want to die on this hill, go for it.
Well, no, it's Joey's hill that he's
beef
climbing
jerky.
over.
Beef
There
jerky.
we go.
Beef jerky sandwich.
Usually I'll just grab a handful of granola bars.
You gonna have a granola bar sandwich?
A granola sandwich.
That's not a protein either.
Give me some Wonder Bread, some mayonnaise, some spiced mustard, and granola bar.
What? Strictly sandwiches?
Yeah, because the question was every fisherman loves a good sandwich.
A granola bar sandwich. Hell yes.
Y'all got too much variety. 3 sandwiches.
You need to add some variety to your life, brother. If you just got ham and that's it.
That's all I need.
Do you know some of the answers on this question? So we've had fuck, I
Cheese.
forgot.
Cheese.
So we've had cheese, which is not a fucking
Cheese
appropriate.
sandwich.
Yeah. We've had spinach.
Oh,
Yep.
And those
Shout
are
out
the
to
only
you,
two
Bailey.
that we can ask.
No,
Hey,
no.
One
I've got
time
some other ones. Hold
somebody
on.
said liverwurst.
Liverwurst.
And Alex thought he was going to add a segment
Yeah.
eating some of the sandwiches that people said that he hadn't had. So we had liverwurst. This was before my time.
Yep.
And Alex made a YouTube video of him trying to liverwurst sandwich, and
It's fucking
he
gross.
also, terrible.
Total side note to fucking shit. What are they called now? Not 603 Bassin. Paul, what are they called now? Real North. Shit. Total. I don't mean to derail this.
Yeah, good job, Alex. Great job.
603 Bassin. They said ham salad.
That's not a sandwich.
No,
If
it's
you
a
put it
protein.
between two, if you put it between two pieces of bread,
I
it's
found
better
it.
than fucking
Anything's a
granola.
sandwich.
It's deviled ham, right?
Oh,
and I
yes.
found it in the supermarket.
I need to try this.
Dude, Paul, you do it. Have you ever had it before?
Deviled ham? Hell yeah,
Yeah.
deviled ham's delicious,
Oh,
but I've never
mind.
made this salad. I forgot about that. I'm glad you reminded me.
I fucking tried it, and it smelled and tasted allegedly like fucking cat food. It was the fucking worst thing. It was way worse than liverwurst. It was slimy. It tasted like grounded up Vienna sausages with hot mayo. It was fucking disgusting.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
Scrambled egg sandwich.
Okay, I'll fucking take that. That's a protein.
Look,
Yeah.
look. When I scramble eggs, most people are eating 2, maybe 3. When I scramble eggs, I got to have like 8 or 10.
Well, that's because you're
scrambled
fat.
eggs.
Well, that's because you're fat, though.
No, that's what got me to be fat.
No.
Actually,
All
no,
right,
it wasn't
Joey.
that. It was being on this podcast and you making me sit in this damn shitty chair all day.
Joey, you hang out for a minute. We've got a huge announcement. Joey kind of talked about it before, but if you guys head over, what are you doing, Paul?